Hey everybody, it's Chase with AV Pop Culture again, and today I am here to bring to you a top 10 list of some of my favorite movies that you might have missed. So pop that tape in, I got you, let's go do this. All right, so I have 10 movies here, and actually I've probably got enough to do this several times, but I'm going to contain it to 10 today, of movies that I really like and that I don't hear a lot of people talking about. So in my opinion, I think these are like underrated movies and movies that are easy to have missed, because I'll talk to people, even people who are big into physical media collecting and things like that, and they do not know these movies, or they've heard of them and they haven't seen them. Or maybe it's something you kind of remember seeing a little bit once, but haven't given a try again. Or maybe it hasn't come to physical media since VHS, or it's just an old DVD and it's something that's just not talked about as much. And I think these are movies that need, I think everything needs a big, good release, a 4K release, and an update and some, love and TLC given to them, because I think these movies are definitely worth your time. There's some of them I really love. Like, I like all these movies a lot, and I own most of them now. There's a couple that I do not own on physical media, because probably what happened is I had them on VHS a long time ago. My ex-wife convinced me to get rid of almost all of my VHS, and these are ones that I just never got back for whatever reason. But I'm on the hunt. To get some of these, a couple in particular, and I'm kind of waiting on them for 4K Blu-ray at the least, but I would love to see them in 4K. All right, so just because my list might be different than yours, kind of standard warning, doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with your list, and you don't have to like these movies, but these are movies that I enjoy, and I think a lot of you will too. If you haven't seen them, give them a try. So here we go. These are in no particular order whatsoever. It's just 10 movies, and I'm going to start out with 2000's Frequency. Now, this movie is this is a criminally underrated sci-fi sort of crime drama action film. It stars Jim Caviezel and Dennis Quaid. And the concept of this movie, and I don't want to give a ton about all of these movies, but the concept of this movie is that I think it's in the 60s. Dennis Quaid is a firefighter, and he dies in a fire when his son, Jim Caviezel, is a kid. And some 30 odd, 40 years later, 35, 40 years later, Jim Caviezel is grown, and he's got, bad relationships and everything else. He's the like the 80s, 90s, early 2000s cop in a movie stereotype. So he became a cop instead of a firefighter like his father. And he finds his father's old ham radio and starts talking to him. And it's during a time when the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis, is able to be seen. And he ends up talking to his father 30 or 35 years in the past. And it turns out that I don't want to give too much away, but it turns out that there is a serial killer that was never caught, that was operating at the time in the 60s, and he's still alive now, and they are trying to work together to catch him, to keep him from killing their mother, or his Jim Caviezel's mother, and Dennis Quaid's wife. And there's a lot of twists and turns. It is a lot of fun. This movie is a hell of a sci-fi adventure. You will have a lot of fun with this movie. Very, very underrated, and one you could have easily missed So many big sci-fi movies coming out in the late 90s, early 2000s. But don't overlook this one. Give it a try. Frequency. I love it. Next one up is one that's a little bit newer, although it's like 21 years old now. And that is Secondhand Lions. I think, coming from someone who is a writer and a filmmaker, I think this movie is absolutely perfect storytelling. It stars Robert Duvall and Michael Caine, Haley Joel Osment when he's still a kid. But this Haley Joel Osment's mother, played by Kira Sedgwick, is a bad mother, and she sends him to live on a farm with his two curmudgeonly old uncles who happen to be rich. She sends him there to help try to find the fortune and everything. And the uncles have had this amazing life and have gone on all these amazing adventures, and they tell the story of their life through flashbacks. And it turns out that, they were telling the truth with these big, tall tales the whole time, all these things that they had done. And there's just a great message about life and things in this movie. And there are some great stories and lines, especially by Robert Duvall, where, he tells the kid, true love never dies, and, tells him everything he knows about being a man. It is absolutely epic storytelling, easy to overlook. It's a family film, but it doesn't matter who you are. You can enjoy this film. I love that they're crotchety old bastards, but they have a good heart. And at the end, like, one of the people from their stories come when they finds out that the two old men have passed away. And he's like, his son asked him, he says, so the stories, great grandfather stories about those two guys were true? Those two men really lived? And Haley Joel Osment, as a grown-up, played by Josh Lucas, looks at him and says, yeah, they really lived. And that is a great message. Live life to its fullest. Awesome movie. Check it out. All right, moving right along to a Walter Hill film that inspired the hell out of me. This is, I think it's 1986. This is Crossroads with Ralph Macchio, Jamie Gertz, and Joe Seneca there. This movie is sort of about the old Robert Johnson story, about him making a deal with the devil at the crossroads for his talent and everything. And Ralph Macchio is a Juilliard music student who is, he's obsessed with the blues, and he's looking for supposedly Robert Johnson's lost song. And this guy is, Joe Seneca is supposed to be a blues legend, Blind Dog Willie. And he's in a criminal rest home, and Ralph Macchio breaks him out, and he's trying to get to the crossroads to undo his own deal with the devil. And Ralph Macchio gets sucked into this. There is great music, great blues, great soundtrack, and it turns out, things are true. And Ralph Macchio has to do a guitar battle with the devil's number one henchman, who's Steve Vai. So it is. The guitar battle at the end of this is absolutely epic. I love this movie. Gritty, dirty, unapologetic. Me and my uncle got to talk to Ralph Macchio about this when I was doing a Days of the Dead and Martin Kove was there and stuff, who was in my movie. And so he introduced us. And Ralph Macchio was very, very proud of this film. So good movie, Walter Hill film. Check it out. All right, moving right along. This is probably the newest film on my list, and one that I don't hear a lot of people talk about, and has one of the craziest titles that you're ever going to hear. But this film stars Sam Elliott, and I couldn't wait to pick it up when I saw it on 4K. I just got it in. This is The Man Who Killed Hitler, and then the Bigfoot. Yes, that is the actual title of the film. Sorry, it's reflecting. I haven't even opened it yet. I just got it. I was so psyched to see this on 4K. Now, this movie is not going to be for everybody. It's kind of a slow burn, and it is a lot of fun, though. Like, there's not a ton of action. This is this kind of movie that Hollywood doesn't make anymore. Sam Elliott is absolutely fantastic in this film, and it hints to like that the Bigfoot is a real animal, but of sort of maybe supernatural origins. And it also hints to the fact that because of his blood type and experimentations and stuff like that, that Sam Elliott is almost kind of a super soldier. Like he has this rare blood type, this like RH, I forget what it is. But it kind of hints to he's a super soldier, which is why he's still alive. And it kind of goes over how he was involved in killing Hitler and the cover up, and then how they go and they come to him because he is this sort of it's not overtly mentioned, but it's in there that he is sort of a special super soldier for different reasons. And they come back to him because they need to kill the Bigfoot because the Bigfoot is carrying a virus that could literally like zombify, like kind of like make a Walking Dead type Dawn of the Dead virus and wipe out humanity. And he's immune to it. So they send him to kill the Bigfoot. And so he has to come out of retirement. He has to deal with like memories of war and things like that as he's hunting the Bigfoot. It is like a hell of a solitary performance. Sam Elliott is alone a lot of the time. It is a really good, interesting, just different movie. Now, it's not going to be for everybody because it's not going to be a bunch of fast-paced action and like gruesome horror kills and things like that. But definitely worth your time to check out. Underrated, off the radar, one you could have easily missed. Okay, so the next one, I don't want to save all these to the end. The next one that I do not have a physical copy of is 1985's The Heavenly Kid. This is sort of like it's a 80s comedy. It stars Jason Gedrick, who of Iron Eagle fame, like he's the main guy or the main kid in Iron Eagle, and it is it is dripping with 80s. It has a scene where the movie starts out sort of, it's so hard to kind of talk about it without giving it away completely if you haven't seen it. But the movie starts out it's not really clear, but it's got to be like kind of the late 60s. And these two teenagers are having a race of chicken where they're in these old cars and they're driving fast towards this ledge, and whoever bails out first loses, and the cars go over the edge. Well, the one guy, he's doing it because his girlfriend was, like this issue with this other guy who's also in love with his girlfriend. Well, he already wins, but he can't get out. He's stuck in the car. And it goes over the edge and he dies. Well, he finds out that he has some making up to do if he wants to get to heaven. So he's sent back to Earth as a guardian angel for a kid who's kind of a spaz. And the kid wants to, be popular. He wants to get the girl and everything else. He already has a girl that's interested in him, but of course he's not paying attention to her. And in order to get his wings, so to speak, he has to help this kid. And there's some twists there and some reveals, and you find out things about how him and the kid are connected. There's a great scene in this that's very reminiscent of Christine's Show Me scene, where the car puts itself back together. This guy uses his angel abilities to go to a junkyard and assemble and paint and bring back to life a 57 Chevrolet. And it's very, very similar to the scene in Christine. It's absolutely awesome. The movie is very fun, 80s flick. I grew up watching it all the time. I think it came out when I was like, so it was 85, so I was 5, 6 years old. And I absolutely loved it, and I still do. I don't have it on physical media. I think that MVD has it on Blu-ray. But I might get that. If that's the best that I can get, I might get that. But I would really love to see a 4K on it. I may have to get the Blu-ray until then. But that one's definitely on there. The Heavenly Kid, check it out. Another one that I don't actually have a physical copy of, and I do believe there is I think a Warner Archives release of this on Blu-ray, I believe. Might be a DVD, but I just saw it recently available, is 1984's, I think it's 84's, Ice Pirates. And that stars Robert Ulrich, I never can say his name, and Ron Perlman. And it's a sci-fi, almost a spoof. It's like it can't figure out what it wants to be. It's kind of like Galaxy Quest before Galaxy Quest. And I remember seeing this as a kid, like 5 years old or so, at the drive-in theater. And I have never forgotten it because of that. I saw it with my mom and dad and brother. And it's like in the future. It's kind of like got that Star Wars, Star Trek feel, but more of the gritty, like of the original Star Wars. Imagine if you just took like Mos Eisley cantina scene and the scenes on the Millennium Falcon, and that was the basis for the whole movie. But then you kind of had like Spaceballs, Galaxy Quest vibe for it too. So it's kind of all of that mixed together. And they are looking for, it's the future, and they have all these things, but they have no water. So like water and ice, because you can transport water easily as ice and keep it, is what is fought over and desired. And that's sort of like the currency. And it's just kind of like, if you go and watch the trailer, you would think it's a spoof for sure. But you can tell they also took themselves seriously. So it's kind of like this weird mix. It's fun, ridiculous, B drive-in sci-fi movie. It's not one that I hear people talk about when they reminisce about sci-fi movies and stuff like that from the 80s or, late 70s, 80s. I don't hear it talked about a lot. I remember it fondly because I saw it at the drive-in, and like my dad was a big B movie guy, so we watched a lot of B movies. And it's like when I do a deep dive into Beastmaster, we'll talk about it. My dad, hey, Beastmaster's on, Bubba, Beastmaster's on. Like I saw Beastmaster a trillion times. Ice Pirates was right there for me, but I don't hear a lot of people talking about it, so it's one that you might have missed, but it's definitely available on physical media now, so check it out. Another one that I do not have physical copy of is, I think it is 2009. I think it's 2009. 2009's Pandorum. Now, oddly enough, this is another sci-fi movie that stars Dennis Quaid. Who knew? It is a very good movie. It cruises into the sci-fi horror genre. I mean, this movie actually is pretty intense and scary in some points. I think it has a great, interesting, and different concept. It has a big twist in it that is a cool reveal. I really like this movie. I'm not really sure why it's not maybe I'm just like under a rock, but I don't hear it talked about very much. It kind of got glossed over when it came out at the theaters, but the movie has a shit ton of action, horror, suspense. It has a cool mystery from like a sci-fi horror action movie blended together. And I'm not really sure why it's not talked about more, but I really like the film. It's one that you could have easily missed, and apparently a lot of people have missed it because I don't hear anyone talk about it very much. But Pandorum, starring Dennis Quaid, check it out. Definitely on this list. I think people should talk about it more. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm the only one that likes it, but there it is on this list. Okay, moving right along is a just a couple more left here. This is a movie that I have talked about on the channel, scanned it into a DVD. Now I do think you can get a DVD now, but I'm not even sure this has a Blu-ray for it. This is 1985. It stars John Stockwell, who's also in Christine. It also stars Dennis Hopper, and it's basically a kid does a high school science project, and it opens up a portal in time and through dimensions and in their high school, and you see everything from like dinosaurs to like Genghis Khan, and he's got to survive it, and Dennis Hopper is there to help him, and it's a fun little sci-fi movie, a little adventure in there, and very, very 80s, but a whole lot of fun. He is scavenging through like military junk to make his science project, and he gets some stuff that's not junk, obviously. And it's sort of like a realm where, like, I think it describes it as the past, present, and future collide, you know? And so he can go to one, it's very dream state like, because as he's walking through the school and walk at where it's open this, like these portals, you could go through one area and there's like dinosaurs, and then you could open a door to somewhere else and it's completely different. So it's very dreamlike how you can transition from one place to the other. Very cool movie. I suggest checking it out if you get a chance to see it. All right, I have two left. One of them I do not have a physical copy for, and that's a shame. I did have this one on VHS. I've got to find this movie and add it to my collection real quick because I'm a big Patrick Swayze fan. I'm a big Bill Paxton fan. Who doesn't like Liam Neeson? Helen Hunt is in this movie. So is Ben Stiller. And that is a movie called Next of Kin. I think it's 1989. 1989's Next of Kin. So I was around, about 10 years old when this came out. So I was right in that action stage. And this is more of like a gritty action drama. And what it is Patrick Swayze plays a now kind of big city cop who is from the mountains of like Eastern Kentucky, I think it is. And his brother gets killed, and he's investigating it, but his family is about that old school, justice, like rural eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. And he's kind of stuck in the middle because he was raised that way. But he's also now he went to college. He's like a sophisticated cop, so he doesn't completely fit in with his family, but he kind of gets drawn. He's stuck between them, trying to do it by the letter of the law, but also feeling compelled by Liam Neeson and stuff like that to fight back the old way, the family way. And it basically launches into, because his brother is killed by the mob, like by organized crime, and it launches into family versus family. So you have like these, kind of hillbilly justice family, and you have the mob, like mafia justice family, going against each other, and it turns into a hell of a battle and fun ride. And the movie is very underrated. Like, I don't hear people talk about it a whole lot. I hear, Roadhouse gets talked about a lot with Patrick Swayze, Dirty Dancing, things like that. But Next of Kin first of all, it has a badass cast. I mean, that's a deep cast. And it even has another guy I like, Adam Baldwin, who's not actually one of the Baldwin brothers. He's played on the TV series Chuck. He played in Full Metal Jacket as Animal Mother. I think that's I really like him. He's in it too. So it just has a really deep cast and a whole lot of fun. Patrick Swayze's excellent in it, and I think it's definitely one that you have to check out. Now, the final film on our list, I do have an old DVD copy of, and this was a movie that creeped me out as a kid. And oddly enough, it's put out by Disney, and it's based off a book written by Ray Bradbury. And I think this is 1983. So this is Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked This Way Comes. By the pricking of my thumb, something wicked this way come. Now, this movie is like sneaky, spooky, and dark. And you want to talk about atmospheric. It is about it's in October. It sets that whole like autumn Halloween kind of creepy, eerie vibes. And Mr. Dark brings his traveling pandemonium. I think that's the name of it. Yeah, Pandemonium Carnival to this small town. And what he's out for is to corrupt and collect people's souls with this carnival. And it's sort of like a whole battle of dark versus light, and people lose their souls over their desires. So he uses people's weaknesses and their wants and things against them. And so you've got all this working for you. You've got Halloween, you've got spooky, creepy carnival, this spooky main guy, Mr. Dark, who leads the autumn people, is what they're called. They come back to life, and they're basically hungry for your souls. They live off of your misery, and basically they collect your souls, and that's how they go on forever. And it's pretty dark and creepy, atmospheric, great set pieces. I would not only love to see this get like a 4K release, who knows, because it's Disney, and maybe we'll get Sony to do something awesome with this. I would love to see this get a updated release, but this is one I think, and I'm usually not the biggest fan of remakes, but I think you could remake this and make it absolutely freaking terrifying. I mean, it's pretty scary now, but I just don't hear a lot of people talk about it. It's old. Maybe I can't even remember. No, it wasn't made for TV. This was released in the theaters. It actually had a pretty decent budget for back then. It is. To this day, I remember it. Something Wicked This Way Comes. It's pretty creepy. Creepy carnival. Creepy evil people collecting souls, corrupting people and collecting their souls. Tons of Halloween and autumn atmosphere with crunchy leaves blowing and gray skies and orange jack-o'-lanterns and pumpkins. Creepy weather vanes on houses, lots of storm cloud weather, lots of that just overall immersive feeling. I definitely think this one is a little underrated, and one could easily be missed or forgotten about. Maybe you knew about it and hadn't taken the time to see it. Definitely worth your time. Something Wicked This Way Comes. And that is my list, or at least part one of my list. I may do some more of these because there were some I had to cut off of this. But I'm kind of curious, are these films that you guys have heard of? Have you seen them? Have you forgotten about them? Did you not know about them? Let me know in the comments. And I kind of want to know, because talking to you guys in general is a little bit different than talking to the average person about what you have seen or what you haven't seen. So I'm kind of curious with my movie people out there and my physical media collectors. Have you seen some of these films? Has it been years and you've forgotten them? Let me know. And until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye. Something Wicked This Way Comes.